This morning's verse is Canto 1, Chapter 14, Text 9, 114:9. The disappearance of Lord Krishna. Translation: from him only all our kingly opulence, good wives, lives, progeny, control over our subjects, victory over our enemies, and future accommodations in the higher planets have become possible. All this is due to his causeless mercy upon us. Purport: material prosperity consists of a good wife, good home, sufficient land, good children, aristocratic family relations, victory over competitors, and, by pious work, attainment of accommodations in the higher celestial planets for better facilities of material amenities. These facilities are earned not by one's hard manual labor or by unfair means, but by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Prosperity earned by one's personal endeavor also depends on the mercy of the Lord. Personal labor must be there in addition to the Lord's benediction. But without the Lord's benediction, no one is successful simply by personal labor. The modernized man of Kali Yuga believes in personal endeavor and denies the benediction of the Supreme Lord. Even a great sannyasi of India, not mentioning his name, delivered speeches in Chicago. We're in Chicago. We won't mention the name. Protesting the benedictions of the Supreme Lord. Woohoo. But as far as Vedic Shastras are concerned, as we find in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, the ultimate sanction for all success rests in the hands of the Supreme Lord. Maharaj Yudhisthira admits this truth in his personal success, and it behooves one to follow in the footsteps of a great king and devotee of the Lord to make life a full success. If one could achieve success without the sanction of the Lord, then no medical practitioner would fail to cure a patient. Despite the most advanced treatment of a suffering patient by the most up-to-date medical practitioner, there is death. And even in the most hopeless case, without medical treatment, a patient is cured, astonishingly. Therefore, the conclusion is that God's sanction is the immediate cause of all happenings, good or bad. Any successful man should feel grateful to the Lord for all he has achieved. The same theme, effort and mercy. It's not that effort is not required, although it's possible for the Lord to bestow mercy even with no effort being made. That's in his hand. But for common practice, some effort is required. Now, there are ideologies. Traditionally in Vedic standard is karma mimamsa philosophy. But outside the karma mimamsa philosophy, a theism idea, in the West it's called the Protestant ethic, and that is you work hard and you'll be successful. Or the karma mimamsa philosophy is, Prabhupada explains it this way: you don't need to worship God. You need to work, his word is, virtuously, according to the codes of Dharma. That's what the Vedas are for. This is karma mimamsa philosophy. It's not ours. Just there's Dharma and the codes of Dharma, and you act accordingly. You act in a virtuous way, and you'll get the results. Because Karma Mimamsa philosophy says, let's assume there's an Ishvara. Ishvara has above him laws. He's the controller of laws. And the laws are the laws of Dharma, and the controller dispenses according to the laws of Dharma. So you could do good dharmic work, and you'll get. So whether there's God or there's not God, it's not so relevant. You don't need to worship God, you need to do good work. That's explicitly atheistic. And there's a theistic version that says, God is all good, God is very great. Just work hard because God is all good and God is very great, you'll get good results. It's not exactly ignoring God or denying God, but it's the emphasis goes to work hard. Now, that's a mode of passion philosophy. Somebody needs to mute their system. Whoever's got a child speaking and lady talking, mute your system, please. Or we'll mute you. Hare Krishna. So a theistic version, that's, you could say theism in the mode of passion. The emphasis goes to work hard, not emphasis goes to the mercy of God. Now we'll go to mode of goodness, and here's, Bhagavatam is transcendental. The Bhagavatam is Dharma projita kaitavo tra paramo nirmatsaranam satam, etc. So Dharma has these four, called Chatur Varga or Purushartha. Dharma is meant for Artha, and Artha is meant for Kama. And in the conclusion, after those three are fulfilled or performed, comes moksha. But commonly, Dharma is seen as a means for Artha, which is seen as a means for Kama. So that's within the Vedic construct. It's also within other theologies, the construct that the purpose is prosperity, peace and prosperity, recognizing God in some way, but more ordinate, more emphasis upon hard work. That's passion. So mode of goodness, this is the Bhagavatam. And so Yudhisthira is the ideal king, or an ideal king, an emblem of virtue. And he's not considering his hard work and his application of these Dharma principles is the cause behind the result. The cause behind the result is the mercy of Krishna. Now, if you're looking to the mercy of Krishna, it doesn't mean you become complacent or lazy or negligent or something like that, anything other than vigorous. But the vigor is bhakti. Bhakti is the teaching of the Bhagavatam. Bhakti is our Bhagavatam's message. Perform these activities for Krishna's pleasure, and surely, if there is some nice result, some good outcome, this is the mercy of Krishna. The mercy of Krishna. This is how a devotee thinks. If something comes out nicely, it's the mercy of Krishna. If something comes out badly, it's my mistake. Now, the ultimate cause or remote cause is Krishna. And if something doesn't come out nicely, there's a nice little story. Something came out really badly, and because some devotee was negligent. And the devotee said, Krishna's mercy. Prabhupada took exception. It's your nonsense, not Krishna's mercy. Because there was some inattention, and as a result of that inattention, a not nice outcome. I don't know the context of what happened, but just speaking in terms of principle. There's a devotee that has become a kind of popular go-to person for understanding subtleties of Sanskrit teachings, our Acharya's teachings, particularly Jiva Goswami's teachings, and other things. And he has this nice phrase that he has composed at the end of every class, and it goes like this, something like this. If you've heard something that sounds nice, it's not, the credit doesn't go to me, the credit goes to my gurus. And if there's some mistake, you're all vidvans, you're learned persons, please bring to my attention the mistake that I have made so I can correct myself. And again, if you've heard something that's nice, even, one word or one phrase or one idea, the credit goes to my gurus. Nothing is to my credit. So that's a nice view. That's for someone who's a speaker. So supposing you have some other service, you're a singer, or you're arranging for temple construction, or you're cooking for the deities, or cooking for a festival, or you're sewing, helping to sew an outfit for the deities, or whatever it is that you're doing, and including in your careers, that you do something, comes out nicely. Now, it depends on your work environment. You may say, God is very kind, or Krishna is very kind, or Krishna's mercy. The credit goes to the remote cause. And this is how Prabhupada is writing it here. The ultimate sanction for all success rests in the hands of the Supreme Lord. Sanction. That word sanctions is here several times. Therefore, the conclusion is that God's sanction is the immediate cause for all happenings, good or bad. So there's a lot of technical Sanskrit terminology about causation. It's important. Details are important. And if you don't understand the details, that's quite okay. But there's different causes. There's material cause. There's an instrumental cause. And there's the remote cause. And there's categories, even subcategories of those. The classic example that's given, I'll go there a little bit because it's in this purport. Using the example of making a clay pot. So one of those causes is the clay. You can't have a clay pot without clay. But so that it's called upadan. Karana, cause. Upadan. Upadan is that which undergoes transformation. The clay starts a lump, and then it becomes a pot. But it doesn't become a pot without the potter's wheel and the instruments that the potter may use to fashion the pot. So those are nimitta, or the instrumental cause. Nimitta, like nimitta matram, bhavya sabhya sachin, become my nimitta. Arjun, become my nimitta. And then there's the potter. So one can say he's the cause, because without the potter, you can have a potter's wheel and instruments and clay, but you don't get a pot. So the potter is the cause. But you don't get a potter, and the potter moves the wheel as well. There's subdivisions of those things. And then there's the ultimate cause. You can, without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, the language used right here in this purport is, where is it again? Instrumental cause. Therefore, the conclusion is that God's sanction is the immediate cause. Because God's sanction is acting, the supersoul is acting through the potter's moving the pot, the instruments and the wheel, and then the clay becoming a pot. That's God consciousness, or Krishna consciousness, is recognizing Krishna's role in everyday stuff. Now, you don't have to be a king. You just have to do everyday stuff. And for a king, everyday stuff is what's mentioned here. You know, victory over enemies and the flourishing kingdom and production of abundance in the kingdom for the welfare of the citizens. And so kings do things to help facilitate that. Pious kings. And the pious kings recognize it's not those, let's say, a nice example is Maharaj Ambarish performing this year-long Ekadasi Vrata. I mean, means there's 24 of them in the course of 1 year. So on Ekadasi, she would observe a certain Vrata, and at the end of the 1 year was the culmination of that Vrata. But why was he doing that? Because he had ample. It was for the purpose of pleasing the Supreme Lord, so that the benefit, his sankalpa, his intention was the benefit would go to the citizens, so they would have sufficient rainfall and everything that they require, because that's a king's duty. But a karmakanda person might think, let me do this, because then I'll get that result. It's like, observing Ekadasi. There was once upon a time, some 40 years ago, there was a sannyasi in ISKCON who wrote a book on observing Ekadasi. And it was taken directly from sections of the Vedas that deal with karmakanda observance of Ekadasi, because one of the consciousnesses that one can carry in observing Ekadasi is getting material benedictions. You do each of the 24 Ekadasis, there's a name, and you do this and that and the other thing, and you get this and that and the other thing for different ones for each of the 24. And it became kind of like a fad until somebody woke up and said, wait a minute, this is karmakanda. So Ambarish Maharaj wasn't doing his Ekadasi Vrata as a karmakanda thing, so he would get for himself and for his citizens. It was clearly Krishna. He was fully Krishna conscious. Savaimana Krishna Padara Bindayo. So a pious king, or a pious householder, or a pious student, or a pious sannyasi, or anyone that may do things in stuff in this world can have different consciousness. And the consciousness that's being imparted here in this verse from Maharaj Yudhisthira is where whatever it is that one does that's proper conduct, observing Ekadasi, or whatever kings do for the welfare of their citizens and prosperity, etc., it's the mercy of Krishna. So that mercy of Krishna is acting through his instrument. Just like the potter. The potter can't make pots without that sanction of the Supreme Lord. You can't cook nicely. You can't do whatever it is that you do nicely. Just yesterday was Akshaya Tritiya. I got a little message from one devotee family. One girl somewhere just graduated from undergraduate school, accepted for an MBA, and in between to have an internship in one of the best companies in the city. Like, all of that happened on Akshaya Tritiya. So, what would the message was Krishna's mercy. This is because the materialist doesn't think that way, but a devotee thinks that way. And the student that just graduated, and the parents, and their close associate, the family members and friends, because of that Krishna consciousness that's been awakened. It's not like don't try to become successful in your education. You try, we endeavor, but stuff that we do. There's a purpose. We want the purpose, but we're not just depending upon our hard work. We're depending upon our hard work and mercy, and the hard work is needed. It's not a 0, but it's not a 10, and the mercy is a 10 always, no matter what. So that's our lesson from this morning's verse. Let's see if there's some discussion. Now, yesterday, Snehavali asked a question which we were unable to answer because of time, having to do with yesterday's class. So, do you have that? Can we have the portable microphone? We're going to do that question first, and then we'll see what's going on in the room. Okay, get back in the corner there.
So, Nehavalli Mataji's question. I'm comparing Maharaj Yudhishthir and Vasudev.
Your mask.
I'm comparing Maharaj Yudhishthir and Vasudev. Vasudev was called Anakadundubi, meaning who always sticks with his words. For Krishna's service, he did not stay with his words. Twice, till he is glorious. Maharaj Yudhishthir.
She has all these really technical, difficult questions. He's known as Anakadundubi because when he appeared, there was sounds of drums from the sky and other musical instruments, attesting to the fact that he's a perfectly honest person. But he was a perfectly honest person, Anakadundubi. Now, her point is that he was perfectly honest, but not always.
Yeah.
That's her point.
And there is a comparison with Yudhishthira Maharaj, the rest of the question. Maharaj Yudhishthir once did not follow Krishna's instruction.
Yeah.
And his chariot, which used to fly in the sky for his quality of truthfulness, fell down on the earth because of not following Krishna's instructions. Could you please comment on this observation?
Sure. Happy. One should always speak the truth unless you're a pure devotee and Super Soul prompts you to say something other than truth. Now, we're not connected with Supersoul like Anakundundubi was. But his interest was protecting Krishna. Interest wasn't something personal or selfish or anything. And he had he had his Krishna channel on. So, he was instructed by Krishna. He was instructed by Krishna, take me on the other side of the river Jamuna. Now, he didn't say, and don't tell Kamsa that you did it, but his interest was to do what Krishna said and to protect Krishna. So that's the exception. And his chariot didn't touch the ground as a result. Okay. Anything else in the room? You have.
This is regarding the endeavor and mercy.
The which?
Endeavor
and
mercy. Effort and mercy.
Okay.
So this is a lingering question.
A lingering question.
So bhakti starts from bhakti, like that's a statement
Yes.
we hear, and even the initial stages, for neophyte to take up the bhakti, it is said it is starting from bhakti in the form of ajnata sukriti and so on. So the question is, the question that comes to me is, so what is my part there? Like,
Your part is to say yes, because you could say no. It's a
even
free
that
will.
part,
Your part is free will.
so then we also hear even that part, the ability to say yes is also from bhakta.
No, it's of the soul. To say yes or to say no is of the soul. Krishna doesn't interfere with that. It's not bhakti generated. It's of the soul. Now, if the soul connects with bhakti or not, and that's a yes or no decision, it's a free will decision. Persons come in contact with bhakti and they can say no. They can say no and, be like Shishupal and just become fixated on no. That was our, part of the discussion yesterday evening. Okay?
Basically, it's I need to keep saying yes.
Yes. Because it can slacken, and you can, the yes can become 10, 50, 500 yeses can become a no, and then it's immediate. The no is, that's the mercy part. Okay. It's really not in your best interest, but okay. Anyone else in the room? Behind you. Good.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I always get this confusion understanding the causes. So we hear Krishna.
I was thinking of you as I was explaining this. Go right ahead. Be very clear what your question is. It'll help me.
So we hear that Krishna is the ultimate cause.
Yes.
But in here we read that in the conclusion, God's sanction is the immediate cause.
But that's also the ultimate cause works through all the other causes. The ultimate cause permits all the other causes to operate. So the potter is a cause. And the language is immediate cause, but that potter doing his cause part, the clay existing, the clay being mixed with water, so it's soft. It's, the ultimate cause is working through all the other causes, including, all of them. And in that sense, it's the immediate cause because it's the ultimate cause. Without the ultimate cause, you don't have immediate causes, so he's both. That's the oneness aspect, and then there's the difference aspect. So you can focus on the difference aspect, or you can focus on the oneness aspect. But he's simultaneously both, so he's the immediate cause. All right?
Radhikunj Bihari Prabhu, can want to speak up? I don't know if you gave the text.
Yeah, we over here?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. It's very, very moving just hearing this purport this morning.
I'm not hearing you clearly.
Sorry. It's very moving to hear this purport.
Okay.
Just bringing that gratitude to see things, how they're happening in our lives.
Very good.
But
Uh-oh.
I think you spoke about this many times, but just would like to hear from you on a consistent basis, particularly when things are not going well. How can we consciously meditate that?
How can we constantly meditate?
Consciously?
Consciously meditate. How can you consciously meditate? Turn the consciousness button on, switch to conscious. You hear, and then your attention goes to what you've heard. That's how you consciously meditate. You can turn the consciousness button off, and then you won't consciously meditate. You'll be in the mechanical zone. And it's nodding the head yes or shaking the head no, but in neither case, in both cases, in neither case is it devotional, or in both cases it's mechanical. So to consciously meditate is start with hearing, and then chanting and remembering, and then the consciousness, it's within, but it has to be awakened by that hearing process. In the qualitative hearing, qualitative chanting leads to conscious meditation upon. And we can't be lazy. It's not a mechanical process. It doesn't work mechanically. We don't become conscious meditators by mechanical doing or not doing. It's bhakti, awakened through sound and dissociation. Okay? Anyone else? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Firstly, again, it's so nice to have you back here.
Don't hold your breath, it's going to change soon.
I hope not for long.
Well, maybe a while.
Also, I was thinking, Akshay Tritiya just started on Chandan Yatra.
Yes.
And you had mentioned once that Narsimha, the deity of Narsimha in Mayapur, during Chandan Yatra, you can actually see him smiling.
Yes.
And I just saw the picture today. I was just thinking about that. It's wonderful.
Send me that picture.
I will. I thought of that.
And I'll send you some pictures too.
Yes, sure. A couple of questions, things that have actually, firstly, not having you here that frequently seemed to kind of like you said, being lazy, it seemed like the laziness was kind of taking over slowly, gradually. But one of the questions that I had was, in the previous chapter when Dhritarashtra leaves, and Narad Muni is explaining to Yudhishthir that, you don't give up your anxiety due to ignorance of the self. You are thinking of how those helpless, poor creatures will exist without you.
Yes.
So along those lines, one could kind of leave it to, okay, I don't have to do anything because it all depends on
Because it all depends on Krishna's mercy.
Krishna's mercy. And
That's a wrong idea.
Right. But balancing that.
We're active. Souls are active. Say it negatively. You can't be inactive for even a moment. Positively, souls are active. So then comes her question, how to be conscious as you're active. So you can't be inactive. You don't just lounge around and wait for things to happen. You do stuff. You do serve Krishna. That's who we are. We're servants. We're meant for service of Krishna on a soul level. And that the body and the mind and intelligence, etc. But on the soul level, that's who we are. So you serve Krishna. Supposing you're not thinking, I'm servant of Krishna, you're going to serve something else. Because we're servants of Krishna, and something else has come from Krishna. You can be covered by Maya. So, alignment, that I like that phrase. It's very meaningful. We have to align who we really are with our values and our speech and conduct. That's bhakti. And complacency, isn't alignment, because not who we are. So if we're not Krishna conscious, then we'll be, in the mode of ignorance or in the mode of passion. We'll be very active, foolish, or we'll be, lazy and complacent. So don't be either. So what's the option? Is there another option? To be very active. Just hearing Prabhupada explain this. A devotee isn't passionate or, very, very ambitious for fruitive gain, but the devotee is very active for the pursuit of making their Krishna connection strong. That's a devotee. And that's who you are. And there's the alignment when you're very active in making your Krishna connection strong. You want nice results to offer to Krishna, just like this girl that just graduated. But she was really happy, but she was happy for the right reason. Like, not just like it's over. Thank God it's over. But anyway, that's when the alignment is in place, then there's a yenatma suprasidati. There's a satisfaction that can't compare to achieving things without Krishna consciousness. Achieving things without Krishna consciousness, there isn't satisfaction. Even Vyasadeva compiled all the Vedas and he was despondent. Not satisfied, but even stronger, despondent. Like, what's that? If Vyasadeva can feel that, what about us? And complacency isn't an answer either. You got to hit it right. When you hit it right, bingo. It's yenatma suprasidati. That's what we have to continue to strive for. Like, his question. Continue to strive for. But not, I'm the doer striving for. It's the service striving for. That's bhakti life. Anything? No. Another question back in the corner.
Guru Maharaj, this is a curiosity question. In chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, in one of the purports, Prabhupada mentions that Arjuna is in our line of disciplic succession and we need to follow on his footsteps. But when we see the disciplic succession listed,
We don't see his
we
name.
don't see his name, even though he directly heard it. So I was just curious as to,
How do the two match?
yes.
Well, there's Kshatriyas have their line also. It's a little fuzzy, but the four primary disciplic successions are not Kshatriya disciplic successions. Kings, look at how the list goes. Sun god Vivaswan to his son Manu to Ikshvaku was a king. But that line, they heard from one king to the next king. Now, it doesn't speak about who are the brahmanas involved in that instruction, but, Arjuna is a Kshatriya. So we hear that it's the principle of disciplic succession, and we're not in Arjuna's line of disciplic succession. We're not in that line of kings.
In the last class, I think
Text 8?
Text 8, and you had mentioned.
No, I did before at
Sorry,
8.
no, not 8. The 5 to 7, I think.
Okay.
You had mentioned, the change from Dwapar to Kali Yuga. It's not really a specific time. I mean, you had.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. What about from Kali back to Satya Yuga? Is there something that happens?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, other than at the end of Brahma's day, I mean, during those 1,000 kalpas, when there is a change from Kali to Satya Yuga,
What's your question?
what happens? I mean,
What happens
and
is-
what happens, and is there a
What
delay?
happens is there's the citizens, the denizens of this earthly realm are wholesale annihilated by Kalki, and from higher dimensions, Vyasadeva and others descend from those higher dimensions, and they come to this earthly realm, and it's now Satya Yuga by their presence. That's the transition. Now, I've never read anything, how much delay of time, is there a sandhi, is there a juncture between one and the next one? That I don't know, but that's what happens. However much time it takes for that transition, it is a puzzle. I mean, a visual, because I'm a visual person. If there's a whirlpool, it goes down, that's outside of the whirlpool moves slowly. Put something on the outside of a whirlpool, moves slowly. But as the current drives it inward and down and down and down and just shoo, at the end of Kali Yuga, then you're back at Satya Yuga. How does that happen? Everything gets wiped out by Kalki. And then from this higher realm, higher dimensional realm, descend the persons who begin Satya Yuga. They're already in, the mode of goodness and transcendence. That's how they live their life. Now they're feeling encouraged to come because it's the nasty people are gone. Kali Yuga people are gone. That's what happens. Online.
This is Amara Mataji's question. Krishna sends many situations and instruments in our lives. and He remains the ultimate cause. While we are navigating through those situations, I might be applying my intelligence properly, and although saying yes, but to some imaginary idea rather than understanding indications. What should be my consciousness while navigating through situations of life, keeping this understanding in mind that Krishna is the ultimate cause?
Get your compass out and continue again and again and again to reevaluate, are you heading in the right direction? And that compass is both, introspection and Guru Sadhu Shastra. You continue, recalibrate, reevaluate, as the understanding that I'm working with really taking me towards the goal, or is it something that's kind of hallucinated or imagined and not really substantial? So, like that.
This question is from Carlos Prabhu. Could be the often contradictory thoughts about our faith, doctrine, principles be taken as meditation?
Read it again.
Could the often contradictory thoughts about our faith, doctrine, principles be taken as meditation?
It can be misdirected meditation, but meditation just means directing your mind towards something. There's everything in the modes, it can be meditation in the modes.
This question is from Sanchari.
And that his question connects with the previous question. How do we know we have the right idea? Okay, go ahead.
Sanchari's question. In thinking of how intelligence works to influence our choices and decisions.
How intelligence works to influence our
choices,
okay.
And decisions in spiritual life, is the understanding correct that intelligence can only be born of bhakti? Is the proper use of intelligence one of the main differentiating characteristics of a pure and mixed devotee?
Yes. Correct understanding. That's it.
My question is gearing towards doership, false ego, those things. Especially like when I'm hearing that we want to be active in cultivating Krishna consciousness. So when there is negative emotions or when my health is not well, it kind of looks like I'm projecting the false ego or doership to come out of it. Is that the right understanding, or is it?
Well, you're just saying that's what happens to you. It's the right understanding because that's what happens to you. But there can be a different approach besides the doership approach. And that's, it's, dark Maya, mixed Maya and bhakti. And there's a big spectrum. And it's not just like only 3 buckets, there's a big spectrum. So it depends, and it can be one time it can be more on the bhakti side, and one time another on more on the false ego side, and somewhere else in between. It's very fluctuating. Unsteady bhakti is very fluctuating. So then back to this question has come up twice now. We recalibrate. You get your compass out and you introspect and you hold Guru Sadhu Shastra in front of you, and you take a look at, is my purpose correct? Is my goal correct? And if we don't do that, if we're complacent and lazy, we're going to be doing something anyways. And so then it's, it's not the bhakti principle that's operating. It's certainly the false ego principle that's operating, but it's, in the darkness mode, direction-wise, as opposed to the passion false ego type. Anyway, so here we are. We're in a soup, and we're swimming around, and there is an option that takes us out of that conditioning, but it requires a clear desire and a clear sense of sankalpa and some effort and a lot of mercy. So we just keep at it. Somebody wrote to me yesterday. I sent them some messages about chanting, and they wrote back, I'm not doing well. And my reply was, keep trying. Because, there are some nice things that here, just keep trying. Keep trying. And, you can try in false ego, and you can try in Krishna consciousness. That's our life. Move the dial for Krishna's side. Aside from getting out of your negative thoughts or the bad health. You do those things, but it's difference of consciousness. That's our bhakti life. I think I'm going to end. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Okay.